Chapter 6, The American Society, Families and Households. This has a lot to do with whether you have children, and the age of the child is very important. So when you look at American households, you have a structure of a household that determines how the unit is created. It talks over here about all these different structures. The stage of the household, that tells you how old your kids are, how old you are. And your household decision-making process, that's who contributes to the decision-making. This all goes into influencing your household purchase and consumption behavior, which addresses your marketing strategy. So here's the breakout of the houses, family, non-family, and the age of the children, and who's running the household. Types of households. So it's everybody in a single unit. Family means related, non-family is not related. Traditional family is accounted for, but now half the young adults have at least one step-parent. We also have multi-generational families. This is one of your homework assignments, so I will not discuss that. And there are also a lot of unmarried partner households, so their households are diversifying. In the household life cycle, this segregates you out by your age, your marital status, and the age of your children. If you're under 35, this is the people who are 18 years old. They're adults. The younger end tend to live with their parents, maybe up to age 23 or so when they're getting out of college. Once they're out of school and have jobs, they tend to move out. A lot of them have few fixed expenses because they have roommates of some sort, so they have some money to run around and do things. Once they decide to get married, that can be good or be bad. It depends on how they spend their money. But they have more money and they're relatively affluent because they have no children, so they can spend their money on themselves, take more trips, do more fun stuff. Young married with children, once you have children, totally changes your life. You need to spend money on the child. You have childcare issues, daily childcare issues if you work. I ran into this myself. I had a child at 35 and I just put daycare in my office, and we've had it ever since. Single young parents. 40% of children are born to unmarried mothers. Now, once you've turned 35, you can be 35 and having had no children. You can be 35 and married with no children. You can then have waited to have kids and have kids that are little, under 6. You waited till you were 35, you'd probably have a lot more money. If you're married and your kids are over 6, you're changing into other things like lessons and dental care, braces, things like that. And then if you're single and have kids, you have another issue because you're generally busy and have only one of you to take care of things, so you need time-saving opportunities. And so every section creates issues and opportunities, problems or opportunities. When you get to the older married couples, this means you're 65 and older, so that changes your income. Older people really have a lot more money than younger people in general. Older single, approximately 70% of all older singles are female, and nearly 2/3 of all those live alone. So that's other issues about living alone and needing different kinds of things in your lives. So now you get to the marketing strategy based on the household life cycle. So you move into here. To make this, to manage it, you have to measure it. And so you make a matrix and you get people into their life cycle stages, and then you identify whatever it is you're trying to study. So say you're looking for some problem out there that you can solve so you can generate some new incomes. You might go through and get a focus group going, and you ask them, what are you using now? What do you associate with these things? How do you use them? How satisfied? And they try to look for things where people will talk about things that happen at certain times in life and try to aggregate and identify trends. So you come to family decision making. This is how you make your decisions within your group. If you're one person, you just go through the process. But when you have children's products, it's a little bit different because, either parents or kids can decide to start something, but the things you want to tell the children are to get them excited so they'll influence their parents. The things you tell the parents are meant to justify and validate this thing for other reasons, and it comes around and goes this way. So it ends up, basically, the parents do the purchasing, the users are the children. So the users can influence some things not. When you talk about family decision making, you can have husband dominant, wife dominant, or individualized. There is also now child dominant is being studied as well. So there's certain kinds of things that the men tend to be interested in, certain kinds of things the women tend to be in charge of. The more expensive something is, the more both of them are going to be involved in it. So America's has less of a masculine orientation than many other countries. This means we just have more diversity is all. The role specialization will still change over time because it gets more efficient. Once you've had children, the one who takes care of the children generally will make decisions about children just because it's more efficient. So then you come into the teens, they're big influencers on technology and everything like that because they have grown up in it. They don't know any different. They're faster, they're more intuitive, their little fingers fly. Conflict resolution. This is just one more influence strategy, trying to figure out if something gets to an impasse, how to tip it over. If you look at how people solve their problems, some of them aren't really appropriate for marketing, but they are influence strategies. So now, decision making, if you're going to talk about the marketing strategy here, you can come over here and here's the decision making process. You recognize your problem, you look for the information. Sometimes it's in your head, sometimes it's outside. You evaluate your alternatives, you decide which criteria matter to you and rank them, and then you see which ones of these alternatives would do it. You pick something, you use it, and then you decide, how did I like it? Was it good? So if you go through and try to decide, fill out your matrix and identify who influences everything, that can tell you more what you can do for marketing. Okay, now we're going to talk about consumer socialization, the process by which children acquire their skills, knowledge, and attitudes so they can function as consumers in the real world. So they go through the different stages of what children are capable of learning and what kinds of motivations, incentives, competition, and pledges for older kids. So a lot of programs are going to have incentives for kids. That's what works. Okay, preferences you get from your parents, your attitudes, what you believe quality is or things like that you get from your parent. Consumer socialization. The family is the primary source for socializing children. When you model, it means a child goes and sees what you do, does what you do, follows your example. So if you take them to the grocery store, you'll see that as they go and they get older and older and older, they have better decision-making skills. So when you're marketing to children, you need to keep this in mind that at certain ages they really can't make good decisions, and if you put too strong influences, you're going to cause problems in the family, and that's really not appropriate. So be sure and read these learning objective summaries. Make sure you understand these concepts, and that's the end of chapter 6.